we go.
Hey, there we're live.
Excellent. All right. We got 2 minutes before we officially start, and I usually start 2 minutes afterwards.
Okay.
But my name is Dan Tyre, co-author of the Inbound Organization. Look at my shirt. Amelia, what do you think of my shirt?
It's awesome.
I'm
Todd,
Todd
you have
Hockenberry, co-author. I got the actual book right here. See, that's the book right there.
I like that. I was about to introduce you. One of my favorite people in all of Florida, right?
Only Florida?
Let's leave it at that for the start of the webinar, and then I may enhance that. And
Well,
one
you
of
were
my favorite-
you were definitely my favorite person in Arizona. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Arizona's not doing too well. Although my friend Amelia Wilcox, who you're going to meet in 3 minutes, lives in Utah. Put it on Facebook if you're from Utah. Yes, Utah, no Utah, right? And Utah's been the center of the world for the last week and a half. What's going on in Utah, Amelia?
The weird metal monolith in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere.
Somebody knocked it over, I heard.
No, they took it away.
They took it?
Yeah.
They took it away. First of all, you don't have monoliths in Florida, do you? You have like alligators and lizards that fall out of trees and crazy people, right? In Utah, they have like statues that appear in the middle of the night and then disappear.
Well, my son is a 2001 Space Odyssey fan, loves that movie, which is kind of an odd thing. He loves sci-fi, and he was like super fascinated by this story. Like, there's a monolith in Utah? Wow.
Everybody was. I was riveted. I started the rumor that it was a Zenovate marketing ploy.
Good one.
Amelia immediately shut me down. She's like, don't do that, Dan, right? Which she does periodically, right? But now it doesn't exist, right? Now they took it away, right?
Tragic.
I know. One of those things. All right, whose dog is that?
Not mine.
Oh, that's my dog.
Oh, Todd. See, is that a bark button? Is that a real dog, or is that
That's a real dog.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me
Always
fix it.
when we're doing the Facebook Live. All right, we're going to start 2 minutes after the hour, like we always do. My name is Dan Tyre. I'm joined with Todd Hockenberry, and apparently his dog Spike, right? And then Amelia Wilcox, who I'm going to introduce in a second. Amelia is the powerhouse CEO of Zenovate, a Utah-based company, tech company that's growing like a pot plant under a grow light. Can I say that in Utah? Right?
As long as it's prescribed, you can say that.
Very good. Very good. Another difference between Utah and Florida, right? And we're doing these Facebook Live things. First of all, they're super fun, right? Todd does all of the setting up, and we invite some of our favorite guests, some of our people we've written about in the book being the Inbound Organization, which we'll put in the chat page. If you have not received, do that again, Todd. You got to explain why you're putting your finger in the air.
That's the book right there, Inbound Organization.
You got to say that, because if they just think that you're like dancing or something like that. I don't know.
You don't want to see me dance, trust me.
And we wrote about Amelia in 2018 because at the time her business was an inbound organization. And then wait till you hear about this pivot. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a marketing person, if you're a salesperson, you want to stick around for the next 45 minutes. Because Power CEO Amelia Wilcox, who I've known, how long have I known you for, Amelia?
I think 5 years.
Yes. And how did we get to know each other?
I met you at a marketing conference. You were speaking with Marcus Sheridan, and it was the first time I'd ever heard of HubSpot, and it was the first time I ever heard of inbound marketing. And I was like, "What is this you speak of?" And I walked up to you and I said, "Hey, I have like a million questions," and you were like, "Awesome, let's be friends." And that's how it started.
Yeah, and I'm a shameless fanboy of Amelia Wilcox. Number one, started her company in a basement, right? As a massage therapist, she's like, "No, I'm going to start a company," right? And then she did. And then she hired folks. And then she scaled the company. At the time, what was the year you started your company in corporate massage?
2010.
In 2010, right? 6, 7, 8 years. She grew it to $6 million. She employed 1,200 employees all across the United States. Oh my goodness, right? And they were employees, not like contractors like Uber and Lyft. Like she actually paid them and ensured that she was regulated in all the states, right? And amazing, right? Has an entire infrastructure, corporate massage. She taught herself inbound. Todd, you will love this. She taught herself SEO. She taught herself the keyword grader. She used to write blog articles at 11 o'clock at night. She's a mom of 3 beautiful girls, right? Married to a firefighter in Salt Lake City.
Yep.
Yep, outside of Salt Lake City. She just built herself a new house. Anyway, amazing person, big heart, lived the inbound dream. And then what happened? In 2020, disaster struck because of the global pandemic, right? Most people would crumple. They just like, okay, it was a good ride. Now I got to go get a job. Is that what Amelia did? No. What Amelia did is she's like, no, I worked too hard for this, right? We have to pivot. And she's going to tell you the story. And I want you to, in explicit detail, all the things that you learn, how you've leveraged inbound to grow really the second incarnation of what you're doing. I love Amelia's heart, all the stuff that she's been through, the fact that she's a mom, a power CEO. And I'll never forget, we've spoken on the same stage multiple times, right? Haven't we, Amelia?
Yep.
Amelia is a better public speaker than I am, Todd. I don't think I've ever uttered those words. I've never said that.
You've never said that.
I know. She wears these red shoes, right? These red high heels. I'm not very good in high heels, but she is like, she rocks them. And in Salt Lake City HubSpot user group, she went on right after me, which is usually a bad position in a public speaking kind of thing. She blew me out of the water. Everybody's like, okay, Tyre, we've heard you speak before. Who's this lady, Amelia? And so we're our Facebook Live audience today is going to meet with Amelia Wilcox. We'll put her LinkedIn in the Facebook page because Amelia, you're okay if our audience wants to connect with you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you too, Todd, you're not like you're public on LinkedIn and you'll connect with people if they're interested.
I'm not shy.
All right. And so I'm super proud and always great to see my buddy, Todd Hockenberry, right? Professor at Stetson University, author and founder and like principal of Top Line Results. And Todd, just explain 30 seconds on Top Line.
What we do is we help B2B companies with a particular focus on manufacturing and industrial companies, understand inbound, adopt inbound principles across the organization, and really connect with their ideal buyers using digital technologies, inbound marketing, and whatever else they need. We've been around a while, so we end up helping our clients with just about it. Pardon me, any issue that they come up with when it comes to sales and marketing. So I'm on this call 15 minutes because we're trying to prepare, right? And Todd is helping one of his clients with Google Drive. I'm like, what are you doing in Google Drive? He goes, man, it's a client. I will help them with anything. And that's the inbound philosophy. That's amazing. Also, Amelia, you might not have known this. Todd holds 2 patents in lasers, right? 3 patents. Ooh. Did you get a new one? I thought it was 2. Not applying for any new patents. I have 3. Yes.
Okay. And he loves the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? And I don't think that's going to come up in this Facebook Live program, but you never know.
It just did.
All right. So super excited to introduce to our audience an inbound organization, Zenovate. And Amelia, why don't you kick us off and tell us a little bit about the company?
Yeah. So do you want me to give the pre-COVID and post-COVID versions separately?
Sure.
You do it.
So pre-COVID, on-site massage for employees. Companies would hire us to come in and massage their employees at work as part of their wellness program. We built our own custom platform that automated the scheduling, purchase, everything, so that people would just be like, oh yeah, I want massage here on Friday. They go online, they book it, people show up, and we don't really have to do much other than be there for support. So yeah, that's kind of what we did before. We were already working on building a platform out to be able to offer any services on site. And we had just about finished building that out when COVID hit. So we had this awesome logistics platform that could manage licensing by state and could send anyone to any location. And then there was like no use for it for a little while. I remember thinking it was only going to last a couple of weeks. And Dan, what did you say? You said, prepare for 6 months. Let's build out a forecast for 6 months. I said, no, I think that's a waste of time. You said, nope, do it anyway. So here we are, 9.5, 10 months in. So yeah, so now we provide a single platform for body and mind. So people can still book their massages when that comes back. It's the same app they use to schedule their individual 15-minute massage at work that they'll use to talk to a mental health practitioner or do a yoga video. It's just one app that does everything.
Awesome.
So, so who's the target audience, right? I mean, how did you have to change kind of how you approach the target audience based on the pivot?
Yeah, so I thought it was going to be pretty much the same because it's like, oh, we sold to HR. Typically, we can sell to HR again. It turned out to be a little more complex than that because, especially with our mental health product, we're replacing people's employee assistance programs, their EAPs. And so, yeah, we still sell to HR, but with massage, it was like the HR manager had the buying power. So they could just say, oh yeah, we want massages on Friday, and they could go and purchase it. So it was like a really instant, simple sale for us. Selling mental health care is very different because it's there's all these layers of people you have to go through, and the CFO has to sign off on it. And so it's just a higher level of HR than we've interacted with before. It's more VPs, less managers and directors. So sales cycles are longer. So yeah, we're in the process of building out basically a toolkit for them to be able to get approval from like the CFO and the CEO on these types of programs to make those changes. So yeah, we had to, I guess, beef up our toolkits that we give our clients to try and close our deals.
Gotcha. Well, let's step back a little bit. You mentioned that you met Dan at an inbound conference, or we were talking about inbound, and we're talking about inbound organization, which is essentially our premise was that the ideas of inbound marketing are now applying to all aspects of your business, top to bottom. So do you consider Zenovate an inbound organization? If you do, why?
Yeah, I do. I always have. We are big on insourcing for content. So it's like every person in all the different areas of the business help us put together the content that we need. So our support team is involved in helping us build out like our FAQs and things like that we can put on our website, which rank for SEO and things like that. Our practitioners help us build out the content on, best stretches for your workday or how to manage anxiety while working remotely, things like that. So yeah, I mean, I'm big on insourcing, and just everybody has to be involved with whatever part of the business they're interacting with, because you can create content in all those areas.
And what was you made a comment before we started, you talked about like one big takeaway you had from inbound. Like what was the kind of core thing that kind of just really stuck with you and struck you about inbound?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me was it's all about helping instead of selling, which was it was kind of like eye-opening for me. I was like, okay, so it's all about answering their questions, even if your product isn't the answer, right? So when you talk about pricing, you discuss your competitors. We just put together a mental fitness toolkit for all these HR leaders that we just started giving out to our clients. And in it has all these other competitor options. And, we talk about our competitors and compare, and, it's more about giving them all the options and all the information than saying like, we're the only option, we're the best, just choose us. And then helping, just having that mindset of helping is like, well, how can we help them get this pushed through? We had a client come to us the other day that said they really just needed someone to come in and teach their managers how to have these mental health conversations with their employees who are struggling. And so of course we're like, that's a great idea. Let's build out a curriculum for that. Let's give you those tools. And so the more you're helping, the more trust you earn with the organization, and ultimately they end up buying more from you, in my experience.
Well, that's a whole different mindset, right? I love what you just said there about teaching them how to have difficult conversations, or to have those conversations, because again, that's the real issue. That's the real problem, right? They didn't wake up today and say, hey, I need this new platform. I need another app. Like, who wakes up and says they need a new app? Nobody. I mean, we have plenty, right? But we need things that can help us that really solve those problems. And I still see that so often when I get like everybody else, the constant barrage of spam emails and phone calls. And it's like, check out my product. You got to have my product. You're a HubSpot agency. You have to have my product. And I was like, I don't have to have your product. I don't have to have your app. I'm doing just fine without any of those things. You really need to convince me that you've got something that looks at my world from my perspective. And that's exactly what you said. I love that, where you're going to educate them to have difficult conversations and you're not necessarily talking to the product yet. How do people react when you say, well, let's talk about our competitors, and you do it in a professional, positive way where you say, here's what they do, here's what we do, they're different, we're not the same, and you may actually end up pointing somebody in a different direction? What do people say?
Yeah, I mean, even as a massage company before COVID, we were doing that. We would talk about, if you're looking for someone who will do employee paid massages, that's not what we do. So we ask them questions to find out what problem they're trying to solve, what kind of solutions they're looking for. And if we're not the right fit, we can push them in a different direction. And the response is positive. People are like, oh, thanks for helping. And I feel like you build more personal relationships. So we've even had people that I've tried to sell at a certain organization, but because I was helping, not selling, they go to a new organization, they pitch us to their bosses there, and we're in. I've had clients bring us into like 4 different organizations, one person going from job to job, just like, oh, well, ready to implement again, ready to implement. They just had such a positive experience with us. So yeah, I think back to just fostering trust, which is how business is done.
Amelia, I am so glad you brought that up, because we get so stuck in talking about things like persona or ideal companies or ideal targets. And the reality is some of those tools can be helpful, but the reality is when you're in the trenches, when you're helping somebody, when you're in the sales role, you are dealing with a human being one-on-one, right? Seems so obvious. It's human to human. And again, look at the stats. People change jobs. People that are under 40 have like 70,000 jobs in their life, or some ridiculous number. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Maybe it's 12. But the point is, it's a lot of people move around, right? And if you make them mad here, you've lost them forever, right? But if you can help them now, even if you don't win the sale, you're building that goodwill and it comes back. To me, that's the inbound. The inbound is you're doing so much good, you're doing so much educating, so much helping, that people come back, they are attracted to you. Right. Most marketing repels me. Right. I get like mad at most marketing, and frankly, most salespeople, they repel me, and I don't want anything to do with them anymore. So again, I love what you're talking about. And I think that point of treating an individual the way you want to be treated and the way they want to be treated is never a bad idea. Like that's kind of classic ethics literature, right? It's classic stuff.
Two points I want to make.
Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
Number one, helping before selling, which both of you embody, right? And that's one of the foundations of the inbound organization. And Todd, in our management consulting, that is hard. There's lots of people listening to this Facebook Live are like, yeah, I wish our organization understood that, right? Amelia, as a CEO, gets it intuitively because that's what she's always done. Right. I think women are a little bit more empathetic. I think that they naturally want to help. Right. And the reason why we see more and more of this workplace is because more women are leading companies and being entrepreneurs. The second thing is this is a foundation of the inbound organization. Right. You have, and Todd, you talk about this all the time. You've got to help and treat a prospect just like they're a customer. Right. You have to make sure that they feel welcome. Right. It's no surprise that you hate that pushy salesperson, because in 2020, Todd, would you prefer to be helped or would you be preferred to sold to?
You can't sell me. It's not possible.
I know. See that? See when he digged in his heels, Amelia, and he said, no, you're not going to sell. And guess what? Everybody's like Todd. The Todd father is like every person. And he's like, okay, but if you call me and said, I work with people in Florida who've written a book and want to write their second book and make the bestseller list, Todd's like,
call me. If you got that, call me.
Right.
Well, and I want to add, Dan, our friend Jill Conrath ran some studies that showed that women actually close more business. I think it was a percentage or two higher than men in the similar industries. And I think you're getting to the point of that, right? I think, there are differences, right? I don't want to get into that too much, but there is some data to back up what you just said.
No question. And Jill is a good friend of the inbound organization, right? She was one of the top reps at Xerox, right? And same thing. She has preached the inbound philosophy for decades of like, before you start to try to sell somebody, first of all, understand what they're about. Every business is a people business. And Amelia, you've always understood.
Yeah, I look everybody up. I get a lead or a meeting request or something like that. I look them up on LinkedIn. I go to their website, and I learned all those moves from Dan Tyre. The first meeting with you, you're like, here's all these things, and you knew all these things about me, and to the point that it was almost a little creepy.
But
I
it's
know,
so
but the thing is,
it's so easy to do, but
I know.
most salespeople are just don't do it, right? And the other piece of that is they honestly don't know how they help, right? They are product focused, or they're feature focused, or they're reading a script, and they really don't understand the other person's business and how it actually impacts them, right? What you just said in your situation was you learned in this pivot, you learned that you had to help educate a different person in HR about a conversation, right? It's about what they are doing every day and the problem they have having this difficult conversation about mental health issues or wellness issues, which I can imagine would be difficult. You're helping them make that easier, right? That is solving a problem and actually helping understanding what they really need, right? So how did you learn that, right? This is maybe kind of basic to you, Amelia, but I want to understand, how did you figure that out in this process of going through this transition?
I mean, just listening, right? So, I
Yeah.
presented at this conference a couple weeks ago, and people would put stuff in the chat. They'd put their questions while you're keynoting, and then we had a workshop afterwards. And then we gave everyone our contact information, and they could request a copy of the slides. And I'm just asking them questions, and I'm listening to the questions that they're asking in the chat and stuff. And the huge glaring problem was like, our employees are presenting with all these mental health issues right now, and we are not equipped. We're not counselors. We're not equipped to solve that. And so it's like, so I immediately realized, I'm like, they want takeaways. They want like, implement these 4 things, or, do these exact actionable things. And so I was like, oh, we can put that together easy. We just started giving that away for free. And from that, we just released it on Monday. We got like 50 leads the first day. So, and that was just to a small audience too. We haven't released it to everybody yet, but just trying to find ways like, how can we help enable them? Because then if we're teaching them how to solve these problems that they're having, then when they are ready to implement a solution, that we're already going to have their trust. They're going to be like, these guys know what they're talking about. These guys are willing to help. It just comes back to fostering trust. So listening.
Yeah, this was not scripted. That's the right answer. Very nice. And I think there's a lot of different ways you could listen, and you can use your sales tools. You can use tools like HubSpot to listen, right? You have conversations, obviously one-on-one, but you need to listen. I just ran a big experiment with a client, and we did live chat, and that's listening, right? You're hearing a lot more quick and kind of dirty, feedback from the world, right? You've lowered the barrier to connecting. So now you're getting different feedback, and it's coming rapid fire, right? But it was really, really eye-opening. And, I would recommend to clients, to companies to find ways to listen more, right? And don't just think about one-on-one. You need to do that too, obviously, but figure out how to use your tools to listen. And also the people that are talking to customers, your customer service people that are out in the training, salespeople for sure. You should be, they need, this is the classic thing. You mentioned Marcus Sheridan before. They ask, you answer, right? They ask questions, you answer them. Well, do you write down all the questions they ask you, right? Do your salespeople and service people documenting all of the questions they're asked? And it's funny, you talk about your company creating content. One of my tools I've been using with clients for years is like, well, you just sent an email, or you left a voicemail, or you had a phone call, or you did a presentation to answer the question they ask you. It's content. You just created a bunch of content and you send it to the client, turn it into a blog post, turn it into a web page, right?
Yeah.
And companies so often, one of the biggest things I hear is an objection to, it's an excuse for not doing inbound is, oh, I don't have time to create content. And I'm like, did you make a phone call today? How many emails did you send today? Right? Yeah. You're creating content, right? Just look at it that way. So you hit one of my hot button ones, gets me going. So
it's awesome. Now the foundation, and the reason we wrote the book, is that people kept asking us, well, how do we become an organization that supports this type of philosophy? And it's not particularly easy, right? You have to understand where you're at. Oh, by the way, we'll post the Inbound Organization website in the Facebook comments. Right. And we believe exactly what Amelia's been talking about. So we have an assessment there. You can take an assessment. And if you leave your email, we'll get the assessment and we'll help you, right? And we're about to get into the process of an MSpot. And Todd's going to explain what an MSpot is, and then Amelia is going to share her MSpot, right? But the idea there is as your organization grows, everybody needs to be aligned, right? And what we see time and time again, it's not just sales and marketing, right? It's operations, it's legal, it's delivery, it's onboarding, it's finance, it's the back office, it's IT. Don't get Todd started on IT, right?
Please don't.
For an hour and a half, right? And all of those need to be aligned. Right. So a fundamental question that we always get asked is, all right, Tyre, I get it. We're going to listen. We're going to help. We're going to measure the data. But how do I get everybody aligned? And wondering if, Todd, you can bring up the MSpot and maybe have Amelia talk about her MSpot.
Yes. Real quick, let me just do a real quick overview of what an MSpot is. An MSpot, M stands for mission. S stands for strategies, P stands for plays or projects, O stands for omissions, and T stands for timing, right? So it's really a tool to organize your planning and your strategy while focusing you on your mission of your company and making sure you stay aligned as a company and stay pointed in the right direction, right? Dharmesh always talked about, when we interviewed him for the book, he talked about vectors, right? Everybody in the company is a vector, and if they're not pointing in the same direction, they can't cancel each other out. Everybody has to be kind of pointed in the same direction. So the purpose of an MSpot is to get everybody aligned and pointed in the right direction or in the same direction. So this is Zenovate's Q4 MSpot, and I'll let you run through it, Amelia, and talk about how you came up with the mission, for example. How did that change, and how did you arrive at this mission based on your big pivot this year?
Yeah, so the mission didn't change with the pivot, actually.
Oh,
So our mission has always been like trying to find solutions for our clients that are stress-free that we can implement. So, it started with massage. We were already moving toward other types of services we could provide on site. So the big change for us was just doing that virtually. So yeah, our goal is we just want to make the HR people's lives easy, right? Everyone that's implementing any of the benefits we provide, it should be super seamless and simple. And we are a stress relief company. That's really what we do. And then creating opportunities for practitioners is just huge for me. So originally all our practitioners were massage therapists, which were typically misclassified as independent contractors, didn't have access to benefits, needed flexible work schedules and things like that. And so that was big for us. And then even pivoting, now we have like yoga instructors and dietitians and licensed counselors, and still being able to provide opportunities for them. So one of our practitioners, we're working on her being a thought leader. So I've been coaching her and helping her put together presentations, and she's been speaking at events and really being able to advance her career. And it's kind of the same thing. The practitioners get flexible hours. They can work when they want, especially with mental health. It's like after hours and weekends are in demand, also during the day. So there's a lot of flexibility. And I just think that's really important, because as a work from home mom my whole life, I believe that work-life balance is critical. And I think the rest of the world is now starting to understand that. We've been doing it for a decade, but yeah, I just think I'm very passionate about people being able to live the life that they want and, ideally have some flexibility in employment. So that's kind of where our mission came from. And like I said, it didn't really change at all with the pivot. And our strategy, the change in our strategy was really moving to the virtual platform. And so just trying to get more subscription revenue, which we were already focused on with massage. Our focus was trying to close year-long contracts to do like Massage Mondays, every week at work. But it's a different product that we're selling for subscription. Now we're selling licenses to our platform to access our pre-recorded content. That's our big product. That's our subscription product. So yeah, most of that is pretty similar. It's just slightly adjusted for virtual.
Let me jump in. If you don't mind, I want to jump in real quick on mission and strategy. I love the fact that your mission encompasses both your target audience customers and your employees and your partners, right? too many missions. The two biggest mistakes I see with missions are they're either full of buzzwords and nonsense speak, best practices, best in class, world class, blah, great service, stuff that means nothing. And or they're focused on internal stuff, product, like we make this product or we deliver this service, but you're talking about the outcome for your businesses, partners, or your customers, stress-free experiences. That's the outcomes. And you're talking about what your people get, right? And you've combined it into one thing. I love it because that's something you can really build on, right? It's going to guide you what you do internally and as well as what you offer to your clients. And it's, again, your people can get to me, they can get a handle around that and they can really embrace it. And that's what people want today. They want to be part of an organization, whether it's their business or even their spare time, their charity stuff. They want to be involved with things that have a mission that really is accomplishing something. So I applaud you for the mission. I really love the fact that it's on both sides of that.
Thank you. Yeah. If we were just focused on stress-free experiences for businesses, I feel like taking care of our practitioners would fall off the radar. And because that's part of our core mission, we're able to do things like we have a counselor support group we just started where all the counselors can talk about different problems they're trying to help their clients solve, ask each other for advice, feedback, and things like that. So I think if we were just focused on the experiences for businesses, we would be missing a huge part of the equation.
Love it. I couldn't agree more. So keep digging into your MSpot.
Okay.
What about the plays?
Yeah, so our plays are kind of like our or projects, whatever you want to call them. Those are the big things we want to accomplish this quarter. And so we really needed a solid technology plan. So with our pivot, we went from just having a platform for on-demand services on site to it's just very, very different. We are way more technology focused than we were before, and I think we were pretty technology focused before, but now it's different. I mean, and Dan likes to remind me too. He's like, we're a technology company. We're a technology company. So it's taken years because when we first started, we had no technology. I was manually texting massage therapists from my cell phone to cover shifts and, closing all the deals myself. So it's been a pivot of the brain for me. And we've been moving into technology the last 5 years, but this, I feel like kind of pushed us over the edge and I'm like, okay, we really are a technology company now. So as such, we need to have a solid plan, a solid roadmap for what is coming. And so we did already identify and hire our technology leader. She starts in 2 weeks. Our technology roadmap will be spending the rest of December getting finalized. We have it all written out. It's just not, we have to finalize it with our technology leader, right? Make sure she signs off on it. And then figure out what else we need on that team for next year. And so those are our big goals on the technology side. And then mental health care is the place we are getting the most traction right now, and it's blowing up and everybody wants help. And it's this huge need right now. And so I'm getting so much just inquiries. Can you come speak at this? Can you come speak at this? Can we get help with this? And so I think, and then we're closing the most deals there too. So we want to ride that train. And so we want to be able to provide mental health care all over the US, because even though we only rolled it out in Utah so far, most companies have employees in multiple states, even if they're, so like one of the companies we just closed, they have employees in 27 states. And so we had to have counselors there anyway. So our goal is to be nationwide by the end of this month. And we put together the business case for sponsoring top counselors. So my thought process behind that is if we can keep our team smaller and get them licensed in every state, we're going to be able to have a higher level of quality of care because they'll be working more often. We can hold them closer to the vest. They'll be more a part of the team than having, hundreds of counselors spread out all over the place. So right now we have 20 and we work with them and are able to talk to them, less people to manage, better quality of care. And then, just trying to get more leads on mental health. And then change management is a big one. So when massage comes back, we have to manage change management for all 1,200 massage therapists and get them trained on our new app and the new way everything works. It's all different because we have a brand new platform. We were about to roll it out in April and then COVID hit and it was like, well, we can wait on the change management because nobody's working on the massage side. And most of our team's still on furlough. It was like 75% of them are still furloughed. So we need training so that all of our admin team can come back and they know how to use the system. and the platform and everything, because all of this will be new for all the people that were furloughed at the beginning of COVID. So that is kind of our goals, is just make sure we're ready to grow and have change management and plan in place, make sure we're ready to grow and have coverage across the US on the mental health side, and then make sure we have a technology plan in place for 2021.
One of my biggest, one of the biggest areas of value from the MSpot that drives alignment and drives everyone being on the same page is the last piece. It's the omissions, which is one of my favorite things, right? And this is forcing people to make a choice, right? You're stating and documenting the things you are not going to do in this time period. And the reason that's important is because, again, if you try to do everything for everyone, you end up doing nothing well for anyone. And write that down, Dan. That was a good one. I come up with a good one every once in a while. That wasn't bad. Omissions are the things that you agree that you're not going to do, right? And there's always a temptation, right? When there's a new opportunity comes up, or somebody comes in with an idea, to just run with it. And again, you don't put the energy on the initiatives that you've agreed to do, the other plays. So talk to us a little bit about omissions and how you came to say these were ones you were not going to do.
Yeah, great question. Omissions are my favorite part of the MSpot. I think they are the most critical piece, honestly, because it's so easy to want to do everything. And we're even looking at eliminating some of the things we're doing right now for Q1. We're evaluating that right now so that we can have even more focus on the areas that are growing, that we need to put all of our resources and time and energy toward. But for us, it's like having the massage market crash provided good opportunities for acquisitions. We could have started scooping up all of our massage competitors and putting all of our eggs in that basket. But that is super time intensive. Requires just a ton of time and legal and conversations. And I was just like, no, we're just going to move on this pivot, and that's going to be our focus. We had started building out a continuing education curriculum for massage therapists and working on these social groups in each metropolitan area, put all that on hold. And then the on-demand, or like the on-site services side of things too, is also omitted because of COVID. And so those are there. And then the sales role comp quota changes, they are very important, but we haven't fully figured out how those need to change yet. Like, we're still in this exploratory phase as we're selling and selling and selling. And I think we're really close. I think we'll be able to do that in Q1. But for now, I was like, everything's just going to stay the same while we try to figure out how people are buying what we're selling now.
Gotcha. So the MSpot is creation of HubSpot, right? And the goal was to do exactly what Amelia said, is to make sure that in one page, you are archiving the most important aspects of the business: your mission, the strategy of who you serve, the 3 to 5. Todd, what's the most number of plays that you've ever seen on an MSpot?
I usually say if you get beyond 5, you're probably trying to do too many things.
Yeah, I like that. Then the T is the target, and then the omissions, as everyone says, from a management consulting perspective, we try to force people to focus, right? This alignment is important. And as you're scaling your business, right, everybody needs to have an understanding of the MSpot, right? Todd always makes fun of me because he says I live in the HubSpot bubble. As a HubSpot employee, I'm like, just put the HubSpot on the wiki. And he starts laughing. I'm like, why are you laughing at me? He goes, not everybody has a wiki. I'm like, everybody has a wiki. Amelia, do you have a wiki?
Yep.
That's because she knows you.
I know. And like at HubSpot, we see this every single month at every company meeting, right? They bring out the HubSpot. That is the essential part of the management foundation of an inbound organization, that everybody's aligned, that everybody's working on the same thing. And if in my role, I see that somebody's asking for something that appears on the omissions, I'm like, why are we working on this? Right? This is not until a 2021 kind of initiative. It definitely helps. One more plug. If you go to the inbound organization that Todd put in the comments of the Facebook Live, Todd, tell them about the download of the MSpot format.
It's just a spreadsheet, and it's outlining something you have here, and just like this one, and it's on the inboundorganization.com resources, I think it is. again, Dan mentioned the assessment. You can take an assessment. There's 33 questions that'll help you understand where you are. And if you submit your MSpot to us through Inbound Organization, then Dan and I will comment and give you some suggestions. So we're happy to do that.
Exactly. We find this is very, very helpful for all size companies, right? If you're bigger than one room and now no one goes to the same room anyway, because we're all sheltered at home, right? You've got to make sure that everybody is aligned, even co-founders, right? Sometimes Todd and I have worked with co-founders. They have different ideas of what the mission is, right? I'll say, what's the mission? And one of the co-founders will say it. And then somebody like the other co-founder will be like, not really. And we're like, what? And they're like, no. It's kind of like that. But I'm like, okay, if you guys don't know what the mission is amongst yourself, how are you going to deploy it to a couple hundred people, right? And you want to, there's value in writing it down, right? We've seen, by the way, if you submit your MSpot to the Inbound Organization site, you send it to us, Todd and I will review it, right? And we'll get back to you and say, all right, this is too broad, because sometimes it takes a couple of iterations. Right? Sometimes you go back and forth with senior leadership team, but it's a very effective process. Amelia, how long have you been creating MSpots?
Probably 4 years.
Yeah, that's why we wrote about Amelia in the book. Not only is she an empathetic leader, not only did she pivot in the global pandemic, right? But she needs to ensure that 1,200 people are all on the same page for understanding what in corporate massage now Zenovate is doing. And the MSpot is a great way to do it.
All right, let's a couple quick questions here. We're going to try to wrap up around 12:45. So I wanted to ask you about corporate culture, Amelia, and how do you view corporate culture? How do you affect it and impact it? How big of an impact does it have? And what's how would you describe the corporate culture that you have at Zenovate?
So our corporate culture, we're big believers in letting people grow. So we try to foster, we do like job shadowing. So we've had people interested in, who are on the finance team, interested in marketing, or, wanting to do a totally different role than maybe what they came on at. And so we give them opportunities to work with those teams and preserve those teams when we're hiring in those different categories. Letting them apply and have that opportunity. So we've actually had a lot of employees like bounce from one department to a totally different department. People like starting on the finance team wanting to write and things like that. And I think employees really want to feel like there's a path for them to go somewhere. So that I think that's been really good for our cultures. Just like I'm kind of the mindset that anybody can do anything. Not everybody can do anything, but because I am kind of self-taught in a lot of things, I look for people that can do that have aspirations to try new things. And so I like to provide those opportunities. We also have a flexible work environment. We've always been remote, not just since COVID. So that is really appealing to a lot of people, just being able to like work from home and manage their kids at the same time. Our team's like 75% female. So a lot of them are moms who left the workforce because they had kids, but they still have a degree and amazing experience and can provide a lot of value and want to, contribute to the world. And so they're super motivated and loyal. We just have a really good, helpful culture. There's also a culture of like, nobody ever says that's not my job. It's like whatever needs to be done. Like today when I was double booked, I'm like, okay, I need somebody else to get up in front of like 1,000 people and do 3 presentations today. And so last night we're all on Slack and I'm like, here's a video of me doing it, make notes. And I had like 5 different people. I had somebody in staffing, one of our support people and our HR director. We're all like, I can jump in, I'll figure it out, so we kind of have that kind of I think that's common in a startup space too, but just that, anybody's willing to do anything. And it's all about supporting the mission and being able to enable the company to achieve our goals. And so what
could be better than that as a culture? We're going to do whatever it takes to support the mission. Love it. You got to have a mission first, though, to have that kind of culture.
Yep.
Love it.
Amazing. Just a note, HubSpot came out with a new culture code this week that embraces some changes. So we'll put that in the chat pane as well. We come back to HubSpot because a lot of the book interviews, the forward is written by Brian Halligan, the CEO of HubSpot, a good friend of mine and an awesome entrepreneur. Right? We interviewed like virtually every senior executive of HubSpot, didn't we, Todd?
I think so.
And awesome. John Kelleher is our chief legal officer, and Frank Osher, who's our CIO at the time, and Katie Burke, our chief people officer. And the purpose of the book is to try to explain how you establish the foundation of an inbound organization and then manage it as you grow. And the book was published in 2018. It's got a huge resurgence in 2020. Everybody's like, yeah, this is what we need to do in a global pandemic. And Todd and I are like, no, this is what you needed to do in 2018 when we told you this is what you, and they're like, no, okay, Tyre, thank you very much. But now we need it more than ever, right? So you can also buy books in bulk from Inbound Organization. You get it on Amazon if you're here in North America, right? And we're at your service. The whole idea of the Inbound Organization as a website, as a book, as an audio book, yeah. You want a little Todd Hockenberry in your life? You download the audiobook. Where did you record the audiobook, Todd?
Oh, we recorded it in Midtown Manhattan. We had a lot of fun. Got to go to New York for twice to do it. It was we really enjoyed recording the book, actually.
It was amazing. That's where I learned that Todd likes to drink bourbon. Right? Like in Brooklyn, it was fun. We were hanging out with authors. It was great. Anyway, right? We want to help. Right. And we know that the transition to become an inbound organization is not always easy. So awesome, Amelia, you're a shining example. Right. We're going to put your LinkedIn in the Facebook Live responses. So people, if they want to connect with you on LinkedIn, we're going to put the Zenovate. Oh, you have a call to action, right, Amelia?
Yeah. Yeah. You can go to zenovate.app, and you can log in and get free access to our starter content, which is about 50 videos in yoga, fitness, meditation, mental health. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. You don't have to pay anything for it.
I just dropped it. Just dropped it in the comments. Again, thank you very much, Amelia. Great stuff. Good luck with the transition and the rest of the year and hitting all your goals in your MSpot, and obviously moving into 2021. And again, thank you for your support of the book, and thank you very much for believing in the ideas and the principles and showing that they work.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm Todd Hockenberry, and that is who?
Boom, Dan Tyre.
And our guest today was Amelia Wilcox. Zenovate app in the chat pane. Check them out if you're a company that's looking for some of these types of services. You heard the story, go check them out, and check out inboundorganization.com, and feel free to leave a message in the comments or reach out to us on LinkedIn or any other place you can find us. We'd be happy to help. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Oh, go ahead, Dan. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
That's right. I was just going to say we had a great year. We helped a lot of people, right? And moving into 2021, it's the same thing, right? It's like curveballs left and right. And just like Amelia, you got to pivot. Right. She never lost her nerve. She just powered through. She's got great grit. And if you need help, right, in establishing that foundation, right, what we find is that it's not always easy. Todd has a coaching program. You can get the book. You can listen to the audio book. If you need consulting or how it works, it's all available at the Inbound Organization. We just want to make sure that you are helping, not selling, treating people like human beings, managing through the process, and ensuring that you're respecting your employees, your prospects, and your customers.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks again, Amelia. Really appreciate you spending time with us today. And good luck with those, with your other projects today and your other calls. Hopefully those went really well.
See ya.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.